How do I flip this camera? This camera was not flipped the incorrect way at first, man. I'm sorry about the camera being flipped right now. I've been trying to, that's why I haven't started the live just like, you know what I'm saying, just abruptly as I could. But the camera is flipped for whatever reason. But today, what I'm going to be showing to y'all and talking to y'all about is linking the 45th degree to my discovery, aka into with physics, uh, anti-gravity, gravity, the inverse square law, and the law of squares, and the odd number rule all together in one. It should. I don't think it's gonna be too long of a video, but this is some real stuff, man. So I mean, think about it. Like with everything I've been talking about, I told y'all I'm gonna be the architect of the next pyramids that get built in the world, as far as here in the North America and everything. We wonder how these stones were lifted. It doesn't stop at just the sacred geometry and knowing that the world is flat. Once you start building on top of the foundation, which is flat earth and sacred geometry, you start to dive in deeper and you find out the importance of the numbers, and you end up going down this road and finding out this stuff that I know. So your artwork amazing, cuz you're different, 369. I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that, real talk. Definitely striving to be myself in every way, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and play. I got two videos I got that I have to show y'all. And yeah, I'll pretty much just go ahead and just start that. Let me go into the history or the watch later because I got them pulled up already. And I might show a little bonus video on this the Chicana slash the Inca cross that I showed to y'all. Yeah, so I'm gonna start off with the odd number rule. It's a 22-minute video, so this actually is gonna be a pretty long stream, but it's all knowledge, and if you're about that, then it won't bother you. I'll be pausing in between in different spots to, you know, elaborate and tie in what I'm talking about, my discovery and everything. I'm taking and showing y'all simply, like, it's so many, like I'm showing y'all how you can look at the world in a simple perspective and stop looking at it from so many, from what they already giving you. When you really look at things from your own perspective, you can see things, the truth can come back around, into, in different ways, basically. Now the originator of this video is Vsauce, so you can look him up. It's spelled VSAUCE. You can look him up in his video. He pretty much elaborates on the odd number rule, which if you look at my recent discovery slash invention with the tying it into the cannabis and everything like that, cannabis grows, like if you pay attention to the leaves, the number of leaves that it grows, the geometry of the plant, it grows in the numbers of 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, pretty much odd numbers and everything. I pointed that out. Why is this important? Because if you look at something called the Fibonacci sequence, in which Santos Fibonacci discovered a lot with numbers. His discovery came from a square and numbers, so that's why I'm saying, numbers is where you're going to find out and decrypt the truth at. And you never know what you might be able to find out on your own, from how you and what you see with the numbers. I just found out what I found out on my own with this 45th degree and everything else that I've invented myself from it, and I've went from there. But that's why the numbers of the leaves on the marijuana and everything is important, because when you look at nature, that's where you're going to get all of your answers at and the truth from. The truth can be seen from examining nature. You can look at a horizon and see that the horizon is flat. You can examine and see that water always sits at a level. You can see the number slash the frequency of, see, numbers ain't going to lie. Geometry ain't going to lie, of points that are on the plant, leaves that are on the plant, whatever it may be, the angle that a plant turns, all of this stuff comes into play and it matters. especially if you're trying to build a free energy generator or anything to tap into anti-gravity.
Strange? Under the influence of gravity, things move in an odd way. If something starts moving because of gravity, after, say, 1 second, it will have traveled some distance. Now, interestingly, during the next second, the distance it will travel will be 3 times as far as it moved during the first second. During the third second, it will travel 5 times as far, then 7 times, then 9 times, 11, 13, 15. Now, we used seconds, but it doesn't matter what time interval you use. You will always find this pattern, the odd number rule. Hiding right there within the very phenomenon that keeps us on Earth are the odd numbers. More like God numbers, right? Is the odd number rule the face of the universe looking back at us? Well, here that Galileo. Philosophy is written in this grand book, I mean the universe, which stands continuously open to our gaze. But it cannot be understood unless one first learns to comprehend the language in which it is written. It is written in the language of mathematics, and its characters are triangles, circles, and other geometric figures without which it is humanly impossible to understand a single word of it.
That's right.
Without these,
See?
one is one.
Now that's where I'm getting at. Whenever you hear people say things like numbers is something that's created by by men and everything like that. Yeah, numbers are something. The symbols of number are what is created by man. But as far as the ideology, the frequency, like I say, at the end of the day, you're gonna have one finger and you can add two fingers. One plus one you cannot get around is two. At the end of the day, you can change the language and say the two, can mean this and mean that, but at the end of the day, we know plus equals what it is. Numbers are what they are. Frequency and shape, all of that geometry, all of this stuff is what it is. Within my diagram that I have, this is just the top version of right here, but this is all of the numbers being broken down just from one all into, simplicity. Me carrying on the properties of halving, because this is my own form of math right here, taking the numbers and just halving them as pyramids, creating a pyramid type of math out of them. But you will end up with, in between here, you got zero right here. I know it's a mirror for y'all. I'm very sorry about that. I couldn't change it for whatever reason. My computer did that. But 0 and 9, we know it's 9 in between that. The next level is 1 and 8, which are polar opposites. And it's 7. In between 2 and 5, 2 and 7, you have 5. In between 3 and 6, you have 3. And in between 4 and 5, you have 1. So if you call those out, that's 9. By level, that's 9, 7, 5, 3, and 1. So 9, 5, 7, 3, and 1, or backwards 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So this ties into when plants grow, you have to take into account plants have to tap into some type of energy themselves in order for them to grow and do what they do with the sun and the moon. They tap directly into this energy that we are trying to find out the truth about. So if you study the plants themselves, then you can find out more about anti-gravity itself. Because look at how strong a plant has to be. You can put a marijuana plant, twist it and contort it. Man, you put this marijuana under something, under a rock, and have the stem sitting under it like that. Say this is a stem and put under a rock. I promise you, it'll grow right up. With ultimate strength, like nothing ever happened to it. So plants tap into some type of anti-gravity type of stuff off rip. The numbers themselves, of course, men can change and say whatever they want about the symbols, but if you see a triangle, it has 3 points. It's the first enclosed shape for a reason, and you just can't get around it. Uh, I'm just getting my paper right now, my art, so that I can tie this in slightly, where people can see that on mine. I know you probably haven't paid attention, but you do have 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 going up the middle. So that's what this guy is talking about with the odd number rule. As he proceeds, marijuana grows and continues and has 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 within the middle of it. So
About in a dark labyrinth. Before this pattern in the grand book of the universe was read and appreciated, people wondered why things fell. Maybe stuff just has a desire to be in its own proper place, right? Rocks with the earth, fire with the air. That makes sense, right? It was fun to imagine causes and write our own stories. But underneath our desire for explanations, a story was already being told. One that is written in the language of mathematics, measure, and relation. Now, many of these stories are being told all around us all the time, one on top of each other. But if we can look past those disturbances, each isolated event is narrating a quiet, simple story, not of why the universe is, but of what the universe is. Galileo recognized what this pattern spelled. Mathematically, it spells, hello, I am speeding up at a constant rate. And that was huge. All this time, for millennia, we had been wondering about the causes of gravity, its
Now,
cosmic purpose.
real short, I'm not going to be elongated right here with what I say. Pay attention to the phrasing that he uses. He says, constant rate. Now, that's very important. The 45th degree that I'm talking about it is so constant, it's not funny.
Why it existed. But now, here was someone saying, yeah, cool. But like, what does it do? It makes things fall. Great. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean to fall? Fall how? Now, the human mind alone couldn't answer that, but the universe was telling us. We just had to speak its language and read it. This is, I am gaining velocity at a constant rate, spelled with odd numbers. How? Well, what's an odd number? The concept of oddness comes from the observation that sometimes when you have everything you have can be paired up. But sometimes that can't happen. Now, when it's possible, when you can pair everything up that you have, it is said that the number of things you have is even. If you can't do that, then the number of things you have is odd. Now, what this means.
Now, if you pay attention to this, that's basic without me even realizing that this is just me looking at this right in front of my own work in front of myself. That's why I say everything that I do ties into oddly everything without me studying it firsthand, because I don't study other people's work, man. I do my own work and then I get on the internet, and I swear to God, actually, this video that this man dropped called The Odd Number Rule, ironically, if you type in the odd number rule, you will not find too much information even about this. You won't even find too much information about the odd number rule. I don't remember being taught this in the school curriculum at all. But what I'm getting at is that, if, as you can see with these pyramids right here, you have odd numbers. With the odd number ones, you have a point, only one singular digit at the top. But for the even number one slash the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, those are even numbers. You have a 5 and a 5 on each side. Instead of 0, 1, for the even numbers, if you stop at 8 instead of stopping at 9, you end up having it creates an imbalance. So it's kind of like an orthodox when you have you know whenever you have these 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, an even number, you're going to end up with the odd slash a pointy type of energy going on with the pyramid shape or whatever.
Is that the number of objects in an even group is equal to 2 times n, where n is just the number of whole pairs that you have. So n is any whole number. N could be, for example, 50, giving us the even number of 100, which is also the number of legs centipedes have. Or is it? Centa 100, pede feet. Having 100 legs is right there in the name, but it's only approximate. Centipedes have been observed to have anywhere from 30 to 345 legs. Now, 100 falls pretty nicely in that range.
45.
But every pair of legs on a centipede is attached to a body segment, which means that in order to have 100 legs, a centipede would need to have 50 body segments. But not a single species of centipede has an even number of body segments. 50 segments is nowhere to be found in the library of centipede genomes.
Right.
So, while centipedes, on average, have a number of legs quite close to 100, they never naturally have exactly 100. Point is, 2n is the mathematical way to spell even. If I add
I'm gonna try
just
to speed up this video by going through and seeing let me see at this point.
that's your velocity
Right now he's getting into the graphing part.
after 1 second. After 2 seconds, your
Oh yeah,
velocity
but what
is
I was
200.
saying, that's the short-term memory. And yeah, I was saying, I swear to God, this video, when he released this video, he released this 2 weeks ago, with the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. People, anybody who has paid any attention to my work and what I put out, knows that I put the Masonic staircase as 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, and haven't gone. I've been talking about that since last year. So this is something for him to have put this out. That's why I say, man, I know that this guy isn't necessarily watching my stuff, but I see that a lot. It's like, man, I'll question certain stuff. I've been talking about this 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 slash the odd number rule. You can't find too much information about it on the internet, and then bam, this guy, this very intelligent dude with millions of subscribers at that, drops this video. So I know that a lot going on has a lot to do with me, man. And just where I'm at consciously. People just ain't woke to where I'm at yet.
Still, so 4, and then 6, your velocity graph would look something like this. But now here's a question. If you're moving like this, is the distance you are away from me at any given time still just the area of the shape bounded? It's harder to see that because you don't maintain any single velocity for any amount of time. Your velocity is always changing, so we don't have these rectangles. But we can see that it is true by putting ourselves in my shoes. Abandoned, alone. I don't even know your motion. I don't even know how you're accelerating. It's very scary. But I can decide to take matters into my own hands and measure your velocity as often as I like. Let's say that I measure it just once. I measure it after, let's say, 2 seconds. All right, wonderful. Now, the question I want to answer is how far away you are after 3 seconds. All right, so I have this measurement. I know that you were traveling at 4 meters per second. Well, I mean, look, if you're going 4 meters per second for 1 second, then that's a rectangle like this. And it's got an area of 4. But you're not 4 meters away, are you? You're a lot further than that because you weren't traveling 4 meters per second for this entire second. You were at all times actually traveling a bit faster.
Right.
And I'm totally forgetting all the distance you covered before my measurement, which is not 0. Okay, so clearly I need to.
So this is where frequency will have to come into. The more frequent that you measure the velocity within on that line and everything, then you would end up with a rounder slash closer amount of what and this kind of actually ties into that phi concept. If you think about that, that's what I think of now he didn't mention that, of course, in this video, but just from me thinking about it, how they say with phi, you don't get the actual number of it. It's a number that you keep on zooming into, basically, and it gets closer and closer and closer to this 1.168 ratio or whatever. So that's what I think of when I think about that.
Measure your velocity more frequently. So let's say that I measure your velocity twice during the 3 seconds I'm curious about. Let's say I measure it after 1 second and then after 2 seconds. Well, now I can imagine rectangles here. This one is 2 by 1, so it has an area of 2. This one is 4 by 1, so it has an area of 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. But you're a lot more than 6 meters away as well, because you weren't traveling 2 meters per second this entire time. You were actually speeding up, covering more and more distance. I'm totally forgetting all the distance you covered over here. Basically, this method will always leave me short. But the more frequently I check your velocity, the better things get. Take a look at this. Oh, yeah. Oh,
See?
wow.
Right. And this ties into what Nikola Tesla's quote was: think in terms of frequency, vibration, and energy.
As you can see, the more frequently I check your velocity, the closer my calculation gets to being based off of what you really did, your actual motion. But also, the more frequently I check your velocity, the closer the combined area of all of my rectangles gets to simply
Hmm.
being equal to the actual area
Less
bounded by
counter
your
space.
velocity curve. Which means that the area under your velocity curve, even when your curve is like this, is still totally the distance you are away from me. Now let's take this knowledge and apply it to the odd number rule. Before people knew how things fell, there were some pretty good guesses. For example, if the reason things fall is that they have within them a desire to be in their own proper place, in this example, the table, well, then maybe the closer this object gets to the table, the more excited it is to be there and the faster it goes, in which case its velocity would change.
And the reason why I chose to talk about this one first is because it ties into, notice what he's, like I say, pay attention to the phrasing and what he's talking about. He chose to talk about gravity because it ties directly into the constant rate at which something falls and gravity and everything. So yeah, this, and then afterwards I'm going to tie it into anti-gravity, and then of course my discovery, and everything. So
Over time like this, getting steeper and steeper and steeper. But Galileo didn't think that. He believed that when objects fell, their velocities increased at a constant rate. So, graphed like this, their velocity would just follow a straight line. Let's draw a straight line. Beautiful. Now, let's divide this graph up into strips of equal time. Perfect. All right, now, as we know, the areas of the shapes we have bounded here are the distances traveled during their respective time intervals. So, what's the area of our first shape here, a little triangle? Well, we don't know what it is. We don't have any actual markings here on our axes, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter. We'll just call this 1. So, in the first second or the first time interval, our object traveled a distance of 1 unit of space. Perfect. Now, how far did our object travel during the second time interval? Well, that distance will be equal to that area. Well, what is this area? Well, one thing we can do to make this easier is to divide the shape like this. Now we have two shapes, a triangle and a rectangle. This triangle has the exact same area as
hmm
our initial triangle.
that's right.
That's because they are congruent triangles.
Mm.
They both have the same base length, and because this.
And when I first watched this, like I swear, man, I was like, I ain't took an IQ test in a hot minute, man. But when I did test, it was when I was very young, and I was pretty high for my age. Ain't no telling where I'm at now, but I already knew that basically you could create a small graph automatically out of that, off of what you have basically off of the triangle, because it initially creates a flat line, uh, and create a graph and pretty much create your counter space and space that he's mapping out right now.
Velocity line has a constant slope. It rises the same amount per time elapsed all the time. So their heights are the same and they're both right triangles. Their areas are the same. So the area of this space is the area of that triangle plus the area of this rectangle. What is the area of this rectangle? Well, one thing we can do is divide
Hmm.
the rectangle in half with a diagonal like this. And look what we've created. This triangle has the exact same area as our initial triangle. It has the same height, it has the same base, they're both right angles. And look, the same goes for this one. It's a right triangle. Its base is the same as this base, its height is the same as this one's height.
Now what I want to say is, when I show the final, what this ties into in the end with that inverse square law, it's crazy because this dude he don't even know what he doing. Like when I don't I don't want that to sound wrong. I'm saying, as far as what I've discussed, he doesn't know that he's doing something amazing, but also it's tying into something simple but amazing as far as the discovery and everything. And a simple way to look at something that people have made complex as far as the inverse square law.
Gosh, this is just the area of the initial triangle, but twice. So we have two of them, and we have two of them one time. Okay, perfect. Now let's move on to finding the area of that shape. Once again, I can divide this shape like that. And now I
Hmm.
have a triangle, which, as we know, has the same area as our initial triangle right here. So we have that area, 1. And then we also have, look at that, 2 rectangles, which as we know, we can divide in half like this, giving us now 4 triangles equal in area to the initial one. So what we've done is we've taken the initial area and we have doubled it, well, once and then twice, so 2 times. Now, as we continue doing this, we find that we're always adding 1 more of our original areas, and then we're always doubling that original area 1 more time. Here we doubled it 1, 2, 3 times. Doubled 3 times. Well, look at this pattern. Right here, we can think of 1 as being equal to 2 times 0.
Now, what I want to, real quick with my invention, with my discovery, I'm going to show y'all real quick something I didn't show people. It's like with my stuff, you know, it's something so powerful because it's showing you that it's supposed to freaking be how it's supposed to be. It's crazy and weird. But with, like I say, every number is a polar opposite to each other, how I have it mapped out. And 0 and 9 are polar opposites of each other. 1 and 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, and 5. We know this now. But 1 has 1 space. I mean, 0 has actually over here. Hold on. Right. Okay. That's what I was saying. Over here. So basically, when you get over here to this side, it's showing you that it's supposed to be set up like this. 5 has 2, 3, 4 spaces under, and 4 is the polar opposite number of 5. 6 has 1, 2, 3 spaces to build up to make that 6 to get to that height. So 1, 2, 3, and 3 is the opposite of 6. 7 has 2, 1, 2, and it's right there. So you have to, this is basically showing that if you built a pyramid, because if you built those pyramids with stones and everything, that's how much would be under these numbers. You would have 2 levels under this 7, which is right here. And 8, of course, is the polar opposite of 1, and you got 1 level under 8, and you have 0 levels under 9 because it's on the level with 0. So it's showing you within itself that it's supposed to be like it's be. I just wanted to show that real quick because that's dope.
Numbers are whole numbers, and they're just going up by 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. This is all of the general form 2n plus 1. That is how you mathematically spell odd. So the odd number rule is not some kind of magical coincidence. It's just what happens when an object's velocity increases at a constant rate. The answer was right there.
And I don't mean to pause too much, but with the odd number rule as well, because I didn't even know it was called an odd number rule, but as I was doing the numbers and everything, I already knew that odd numbers had significance. But when you do the odd number rule and you apply vortex-based math, the odd number rule automatically switches over, and just as well with the even and odd group. When you go from 0 to 1, no, 0 to 2 to 4 to 6 to 8, and then you get to 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. So notice that those are your base. Between 0 through 9 are your basic numbers within that range, 0 through 9. But as far as the number of even numbers that you have in between 0 and 9, you have 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8, which are 5 numbers. Just as well on the other end, you have odd numbers, which are 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, which is 5 numbers. When you do 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, you get what I'm saying? Okay, so what I'm saying is 0, that way y'all can see it. 0, let me see. I'm having a brain issue fart right now. Brain fart. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then when you get to 10, I'm going to start over. Like those are your basic even numbers. Note that. I know it's mirrored. But when you get to 10, you're going to get 1 plus 0 equals 1. And then after that, you get to 12, then 14, 16, 18. Okay. So 12 after that, 1 plus 2 equals 3. So you write 3. And then after 12, you add 2 more to that, and you're going to get 14. 14, 1 plus 4 equals 5. And then after that, of course, you get 16. 1 plus 6 equals 7. And of course, after that, you continue the pattern and you will get 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. which is a very high. 18 is the number. That's all of the numbers basically. But you, as you can see now, you got your even numbers right there, and then you have your odd numbers. And the same rule applies when you do the odd numbers. If you did started off with 1, 3, 5, 7, and then 9, when you get to 11, 1 plus 1 equals 2. So then you end up with 2 right there. Okay. And then after 11, you end up with 13. 1 plus 3 equals 4. So then you end up with 4 right here. Okay. And then after 11, 13, and then 15, 1 plus 5 equals 6. And then you will have, you know, um 15, and then 17, you will have 8. 1 plus 7 equals 8. And you just continue that pattern. So they're switching and alternating. Within that odd number rule, when you apply that vortex-based mathematics, behind the scenes, what's going on is the polarity of the odd and even numbers are, you can see that playing out.
In front of us all along, written in the mathematical language of the universe. The universe also contains Colorado, one of its best rectangles. Or is it? Let's find out after a quick word from our sponsor, us. Hi, I'm Michael Stevens. Are you a person?
Hey, I want to say, man, I really fuck with this dude. This dude is really intelligent because he got his own cipher wheel that he came out with. I saw that cipher wheel and it almost looked like how I got my stuff separated into 2 characters. That's how I know this dude is thinking on the same type of, he has that same brilliant type of mindset that I got. See, these are the type of people and got millions of subscribers. So people know how smart this guy. People just sleep on me. That's all I'm saying. Somebody like him, if he saw what I do, and if I came across somebody like this and met somebody in life, that's somebody that I would start being able to actually build with, instead of people, sleeping on me and not have, half-ass supporting what I do. People like this would be amazed by what I found out and show it greatly too.
I only want to talk to your brain. Okay, so brains, here's my message to you. Treat yourself. Touch more than just my voice. Become a supporter of the Vsauce Curiosity Box, the subscription for thinkers. It comes to your door every 3 months, full of stuff that we have made and things that we love. I'm talking books, shirts,
Let me see, bro.
inaugural felt.
And we do everything from single unit implants to full arch implants, which we replace all the teeth.
What is this? Glitter? Are you cheating on me?
Lines. We intended theoretically pure geospherical rectangle, thus ending the shaping of Colorado that began with lines drawn by the Compromise of 1850. 1850. We have arrived. Article 18, Section 5, Paragraph
Come on,
0,
cousin, golly.
list of approved exceptions, but not one of these was considered in the case of Airbud. Had they been, it would have been discovered quite quickly.
Okay,
Airbud
well,
the dog qualified under absolutely none of them. There is no rule that
okay,
specifically
we got, so that is it for that video right there. The next one that we got is by Derek. Oh, like us, if you want to watch that video, that's called The Odd Number Rule. I want to make sure that I credit people greatly because that was some great work, by him showing that. There's no videos out there about it, so if people want to learn more about it, he got some video, that video out there where you can learn more about that. It's called The Odd Number Rule by Vsauce, VSAUCE. The next video, which ties into my discovery in the 45 degree, I wanted to show that one first, but like I said, because it ties into, like he was saying, the constant rate at which things fall with gravity and everything. The inverse square law is this right here by Derek Owens.
Gravity. He didn't simply want.
And his name is spelled DEREKOWENS.
An explanation of it. He wanted a mathematical explanation of it. When Newton was thinking about his theory of gravity, he didn't simply want an explanation of it. He wanted.
Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna put something under this because if I actually put something under this, it'll the speaker can elevate off of the paper and it can sound. Y'all can hear it better. It's kind of smothered, if not.
A mathematical explanation of it. An equation would precisely describe the force of gravity. And he reasoned that it would probably be an inverse square law. And you should understand what this term means. It's a mathematical term. It's an inverse square relationship between two variables. I'll give you an example of an inverse square law that we can see in everyday life. Suppose we have a flashlight. And you know how flashlights work. The light rays.
Now, what's funny, so crazy, and so far is that I've already said in my other videos that I saw where, now I didn't do this experimentation, so I'm giving other people their credit on this. So I'm not saying it's 100%. You know, other people can apply their experiments themselves to see if it's true. But light apparently travels at a 45-degree angle. That's very important.
The light rays spread out from the flashlight.
And what he's talking about is light.
So the farther away you get from the light, the more spread out it is. Let's imagine this flashlight sitting here emitting light, and these are the light rays that are traveling off in this direction. And let's imagine we place a screen here. So the light lands on this screen and illuminates it. And suppose this screen is a distance of 1 meter away from the light source. Well, you can see all this light landing on the screen here will illuminate it. So it will be lit up with a certain brightness, a certain amount of illumination, a certain amount of light landing on that screen. Well, if you imagine these rays spreading out, you can see that they're straight lines, they're linear, but they all have different angles. If we were to go, instead of 1 meter away, if we were to go twice that far, 2 meters away, you should be able to see that a screen placed twice the distance away, in order to catch the same light rays, will have to be twice as wide and twice as tall. So if this is a certain width there, the screen is going to be twice as wide. And if the screen has a certain height here, the screen twice as far away will have to be twice as high in order to catch the exact same light rays. And so, as you can see in the picture, this screen that's twice as far away is 4 times the size. It's twice as wide and twice as tall, so it's as if we had 4 of these smaller screens. So the light now landing, remember, it's the same light. All the light that would have landed on this screen, if that screen is then replaced by this other one, that same light is spread out over an area 4 times as big. So the illumination on this second screen, or a screen that's twice as far away, is only going to be 1/4 the illumination on the screen that was closer. Continuing that same reason, if we go out 3 times as far as we originally were, then to catch the same light rays, we need a screen that is 3 times as wide and 3 times as tall. And you should be able to see that this screen is like 9 of these little ones. So increasing the distance here by a factor of 3 has required an area 9 times as great to capture the same light. In other words, the light that was landing on this original screen at this distance is going to be spread out over 9 times as much area. So this screen will be less brightly illuminated, and we can see mathematically it will be exactly 1/9 as brightly illuminated as at the original distance. And
now, this is where it comes in. It's been right in front of you. I mean, something that simple has been right in front of you all of your time. We got it right here. A grid. So, as you can see, what he's explaining is that you can have one, it starts off 1 by 1, a single one. And then it goes to 2 by 2 of an area. Then 3 by 3. And of course, the pattern would continue. I just showed y'all the inverse, you know, how through how I set up my numbers, the specific way of how I set up my numbers on a grid. Everything else, everything is set up off of squares, period. And that's important because, as I said, it's a fractal. As you zoom, the very one square, the 0 through 9 pyramid, connected with the inverted pyramid and the top makes a square. It's multi-dimensional. And as you zoom into that one square, you have to realize that every single individual square where you see 0 as a square, it's the same thing as with all of the numbers with it. So if you zoomed in on the number 0, you're zooming in technically on, it would have 0 through 9. All of the numbers would be making up the square of the number 0. And the same proceeds for every other number. So that's just explaining that it's a Mandelbrot type thing / fractal code. Now, what I'm getting at is 1, 4, I mean 1, 2, and then 3 by 3. If you take a 45-degree angle, simple, 1 by 1, you have 45 degrees automatically, diagonal to diagonal. And so much has been proven. I can pull up so many videos to prove what I'm saying about the diagonal behavior / the concept of diagonal and how important it is. I mean, how important the diagonal line is within nature and our understanding of gravity, lighting, and all of this stuff, these mysteries that we're trying to find out. That's why my stuff is set up all diagonal. The 45 degrees creates and switches from the original motion of so-called gravity, the force that brings us, / really density and buoyancy that pushes things down to the ground. So I'm not saying that I believe in the term is just a term. I'm not that type of person to just stay stuck on terms and I feel like that type of, you wasting time. At the end of the day, you could be working and getting work done instead of trying to focus on terms. So that's what I'm doing, is focusing on the work itself. But if you continue the process and go on up to the 2, note that he did not do this. He had to draw out the light to prove this thing. And anytime that you see anything about the inverse square law, if you look it up, you will not see what I am showing you right now with the 45-degree angle, period. Anything that I show y'all, I'm telling y'all, is original. I don't say what I say to brag. I say it because it's a fact. Now, as you zoom this in, you got 1 by 1, and then you end up with 4 by 4. Isn't that what the man has right there? He just said that it's 2 by 2, 1, and then you end up with 2 by 2. Isn't that 2 by 2? 45 degrees. Okay. Now, as you continue it, traveling on the 45-degree line, you end up with 3 by 3, which is the same thing right there. So instead of even having to draw, this is why I'm saying what I have. The reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because if you've been in this true community and everything, you know that some people say things about you should question everything, number one, which is what I'm doing, and my work proves it for itself that I question everything that I do. And that's why I create what I create myself instead of other people creating it for me and stopping there. So you take this right here and you realize that just like with other things in the world that they've taught us, a lot of stuff is put there to hide certain things. And if people knew what I knew to create what I created about the 45 degree and everything, all of this information that I put out about it, then this is all that I really started off with. Drawing was a 45-degree line and knowing about that, knowing the information about the numbers that I knew and doing this. So once you know that, this ties into what? Anti-gravity, which is, like I said, if you look up the inverse square law / the law of squares, there's a guy named golly, I can't even remember his last name, but I want to give credits to him. Look up the law of squares ties into anti-gravity. So that's why I made this video, to send y'all down that road if you're interested about anti-gravity type of this type of knowledge that people do not know about. And if it wasn't for me putting this out here, man, you wouldn't even know this. This is something simple.
Can continue this relationship at four times the original distance.
And light travels at a 45-degree angle. Note that if this was not at a 45-degree angle, you would end up having to do what the guy in the other video was just talking about. If you draw a line like that, you got to end up using counter space and space, and it's not balanced anymore. You got to start doing all of this type of stuff in order to calculate, break up into frequencies and different, stuff like that. instead of the 45, which is the line of balance, which is also what I've been showing y'all, the Inca cross. Our ancestors knew about this type of stuff in their own, I ain't gonna say in their own way. I'm trying to find out now. Obviously, if they was lifting stones and stuff, they knew about it deeper than me. But at least right now, I'm sending people on the right road as far as the knowledge and where we're supposed to be at. Why did everything as far as the pyramids stop being built with the Inca Empire? That all stopped there in the 1400s. And hey, what happened after the 1400s? Next thing you know, so-called Christopher Columbus / the slave stories, and we're enslaved Black people. So you have to wake up, man. Like, this is what we was doing. This type of shit, this type of knowledge that I'm on, I'm restoring it. I'm sending us back on the right path beyond all of the stereotypical dumb shit that we've been focusing on. The money has been distracting us, and if we knew how to power ourselves with our own power, this ain't just no talk. This is once you got the knowledge, you start building on this type of stuff, and you ain't gonna never know or know where you can get if you don't try. Is what I'm trying to get people to understand. So, and you're not going to get there just by talking and staying stagnant on the same type of thing. See, I grow. I learn one thing and I don't stay stuck on one person or one thing. And I don't let anybody just, I don't want people to just stay stuck on me. That's not what I'm not here to be a god or anything. I want people to, at the end of the day, remember me for what I've done. I want people to respect me for what I've done. And, but at the end of the day, that's really the main thing that matters to me, just the respect and the remembrance for what I freaking did. I stand for what I stand for a reason. It's a lot of people who get remembered for doing, niggas want to be remembered for doing the most fucked up stuff in the world. And don't nobody, get on to them about that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to me, I'm standing for what I stand for. And I got to be remembered for the correct things, the good things, and sending people on the right path that they should be on with this knowledge. Because this right here is what people don't know, obviously. If you can't look it up on the internet, don't y'all think that that's probably the truth?
Times the distance.
9 times out of 10.
1/25. At 10 times
Being
the
hid.
original distance, the illumination would be cut to 1/100th.
This inverse square relationship basically arises as a property of three-dimensional space in which we live in. And Newton understood this, and he figured that gravity would be stronger at closer distances and would weaken according to an inverse square law.
Right. And I know that you're in response to what he just said about the three-dimensional aspect of that. What I'm doing by being able to map this out on flat paper like this is also proving a lot about flat Earth as well, just by the fact that I'm doing it. But when it comes to this, the fact that you can draw a 45-degree line through something like that, that's the z-axis. That's what we know as the z-axis. You have an x-axis, a y-axis, and you have a z-axis / the 45-degree line. So what he's talking about with the and anybody knows that the z-axis is usually exemplifying or communicating depth / three-dimensionality. So that ties into exactly what he's talking about. So just because this is on flat paper and everything like that, that doesn't cancel out anything. A lot of things as far as dimensions has to do with perception. And once you learn that, you can learn more or / create better or create more. This thing is falling, man. I don't know what's going on with it. I might have to hold it. But
much the same way.
we almost through anyway. I ain't gonna hold y'all too much longer. Come on, man. What just happened?
Frank's new thick sauce. It's thick.
Today, 6 months to the day, you've been out of prison, my man.
Now you're rock bottom when you're broke.
When Newton was thinking about his theory of landing, remember, it's the same light. All the light that would have landed on the screen is like 9 of these little ones. So increasing the distance here by a factor of 3 has required an area 9 times as great to capture the same light. In other words, the light that was landing on this original screen at this distance is going to be spread out over 9 times as much area. So this screen will be less brightly illuminated, and we can see mathematically it will be exactly 1/9 as brightly illuminated as at the original distance. And you can continue this relationship. At four times the original distance, the amount of illumination would be cut to 1/16th. At 5 times the distance, it will be cut to 1/25th. At 10 times the original distance, the illumination would be cut to 1/1.
All right, we appreciate you, Derek. What was your last name, bro? Derek. Oh man, come on now. Derek Owens was his name. I got another phone. So my last thing that I'm gonna pull up, I told y'all I had a bonus video that I was gonna show y'all in reference to this. It's actually something to do with that Inca cross. You can stay for it if you want to. If not, that's cool too. It's not too long. I think it's like 5 minutes actually. 6 minutes actually. Yeah. So it's get that off the charger there. To say too, man, this ain't let me put this on camera. This is what I use for drawing. I'm not just nasty and got like an everything. I know that, you know, people who don't. This is for me drawing. That's lead that's on this. So, you know, I use that to smudge my art, man. That's what that's for. This ain't just ain't been picking no ears and wax and shit.
The Chicana is also called the Andean cross, and Chicana is a Quechuan word which means bridge or portal. The Andean cross is a very predominant feature in architecture, textiles, artistic design. It's very much embedded in the culture. And the first thing you'll notice when you look at the Chicana is these 3 ridges or 3 layers representing 3 worlds. The lower world, called the Uku Pacha, its predominant energy is Hucha or heavy energy. The middle world, the middle step, is the Kai Pacha. And Kai Pacha is where we live on planet Earth, and it's a mixture of heavy energies, neutral energies, and refined energies. And the upper world, the Hanak Pacha, is the domain of Sami, the refined energies, and it's considered the domains of the Apus, angels, spiritual teachers, enlightened beings. Each of these worlds or levels are also associated to levels of consciousness. The lower world is the snake, the middle world is governed by the puma, and the upper world is governed by the condor. And condor feathers and things related to the condor show up very much in Andean mystical ceremonies and studies. So the Chicana is really a central symbol in Andean culture. And there is a similar symbol in North American culture known as the medicine wheel. It's used to address the 4 directions. And there are different artistic forms of the Chicana with different geometric elements in them. You'll see these in jewelry if you go to Peru. Now, related to these sacred symbols are the 5 mystical elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And these elements are very, very clearly mapped and understood to be associated with a symbol called the pentagram. And even the Pythagoreans were very much into this 5-star shape. So what about the Chicana? So after looking at the Chicana, it became clear to me that this symbol, which occupied such a central part in Andean mysticism all over the region, should have an association that's deeper, more hidden, more esoteric than we know about.
Mm-hmm.
So I began to wonder, does the Chicana have meanings like the embodiment or expression of the 5 elements, the 5 mystical elements that I talked about in earlier videos? Sir. So I was looking and looking, and I found some information at a source that I wasn't expecting that, to me, helps explain partially the design behind the Chicana. And the source for my information was from a Sufi master, Hazrat Inayat Khan. And Inayat Khan brought Sufism from India to the West, United States and Europe, in the early 1900s. And he spoke a lot. His speech was recorded. And in speaking about the 5 elements, he associated them to different directions. The horizontal direction shows the earth element. The downward direction shows the water element. The upward direction shows the fire element. The zigzag direction shows the air element, and the form taken by ether is indistinct and misty. So looking at the design of the Chicana, what you can see here are the two arms going out into the horizontal direction with the earth element. You have the downward arm, which shows the water element. You have a corresponding upward arm for the direction of the fire element. And this one's very interesting. You take the steps together on the side of the Chicana and you have a zigzag for the air element. So the only one left is ether, and that one's right in the middle. So what you have with the Chicana is a tool, is a mapping of these 5 elements that can be used in meditation and spiritual exercise.
Wow.
So this means that Chicana is an intentional design. It's not just a religious symbol. It is a tool that you can use for meditation. It is a library, and it is a portal.
Bro, do y'all
If
hear
you have
that?
a virtual
Do y'all hear this? Like this ain't just, this guy just said that he taught that a master said this right here. So that's what I'm saying, man. Think about what I created. On my diagram, I titled it to what? The chakras / what is it? Meditation? He just said that. So you get what I'm saying, man? I'm on some deep stuff, and I'm sharing this with y'all because it's powerful. So I mean, the fact that y'all the first people here to hear this, man, and this stuff might, I mean, this ain't no might, man. This is something that is, when you find something that's a truth that people have not known, that's undebatable, the numbers speak for themselves. It can't be rearranged, you know, and it is what it is, literally. I mean, this is something that ain't going away. So the fact that y'all the first 3 people here, you know, I want y'all to let y'all know that I appreciate y'all staying through this and listening to this. It let me know that it's some type of importance to you, that you sat through and listened, you know, almost the whole time. I paid attention to that. Y'all stayed through. You're special because you even here hearing it, you know. So I don't know what this symbol might even be able to help you with. And you might share the same skin tone as me. If you do, even if you don't, you know, spirituality, that's what matters as far as connections. But I'm showing y'all the importance. Our people, we don't know who we was, man. We don't, as far as now, we don't know, you know, we so confused, man. But all we can do is pick up right now and create new. We can only innovate. That's it. So that's all that I'm trying to do, man. And that's it, man. You know, I appreciate y'all, you know, staying through. Like I said, this is actually the end of the video. He got a few more seconds left in it.
pendulum, you can measure beneficial energies coming out of the Chicana from that circle in the middle. So the Chicana is really a very complex symbol. Now, I said that the Chicana has functions as a bridge, a library, a portal. In Andean culture, these types of concepts about portals and doorways are all over the place, from the Muro doorway at Lake Titicaca to the Gateway of the Sun in Tiwanaku, Bolivia. They're all throughout the region. So what about the Chicana as a tool? How can you get to know it and learn about it? Well, I'll give you a hint. Start with single pointed consciousness. So thank you for watching Unveiling Machu Picchu on the Chicana. I'll have more videos out soon. Thanks again.
And the name of, yeah, let me shout him out. What was his name? His name is Inayat. It's INAYAT 2012. And that was called Unveiling Machu Picchu. What video is this? America Unearthed. Underground Chamber linked to Secret Society. I'm gonna have to watch this. Well, that's what I'm finna watch. Well, hey man, I appreciate y'all staying through, man. At exactly 1 hour. So yeah, we did a 1 hour presentation. Y'all learned something new from me. I showed y'all how this ties into. That's crazy as hell, man. That's hold on. Who made the video and the title? The stream glitches and had to exit and rejoin. The screen glitched. Let me see. Okay, I got you. Let me go back. His name is Inayat 2012. INAYAT 2012 2012. So yeah, man, that's and that's his channel name. So and the name of that video, the title was Unveiling Machu Picchu de Chacana. And Chacana is spelled CHAKANA. So so yeah, man. That's pretty much it, man. I appreciate y'all staying through, and I'll be back through because that's not my last discovery as far as the 4 and the 5. I've been rolling them out slow. So I mean, at the end of the day, like I say, you can look everywhere and see this, and I'll give y'all one little hint. Go look up all of the Apple logos and see what degree they turn to. That'll blow y'all mind. See what degree them Apple logos turn to, the Safari logo and shit, the compasses and stuff like that. Have a good day, man. Blessings toward you. Appreciate you. You know it, man. No problem at all. I appreciate y'all staying through. And I will not hold y'all any longer, bro. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream, and I'll be glad to see y'all next time. Stay safe out here.